out at the center position, and Whitney and Burks in the backcourt. For Duke, a lot more experience. Not a senior for Clemson. A couple on Duke starting five, and Davis and Leitner, Grant Hill, and Thomas Hill, and Bobby Hurley in the backcourt. Cliff Ellis, his 8th season at Clemson, 139 wins, 91 losses, and for Coach K, the defending national champion, in his 12th season at Duke, 277 wins, 108 losses, 350 overall victories. After a weekend win, Duke leads the overall series 70-23, and Clemson's won 3 of the last 7 games, but it's always tough to win at Cameron for anybody. And Clemson will take the first shot of the ball game. It didn't take long. So much for holding the ball, Len.
Just goes to show you, Chris Whitney wants to get loose right away, even though he's a junior, JUCO transfer. He wants to show somebody that he can play in his conference.
Here's Burks on top, guarded by Hill. Duke opens in a man-to-man, as you might expect. Nice job getting his own rebound is Steve Harris. So Clemson's going to have 3 shots on their first possession, barring a steal. Nice pass in low. And the Tigers still can't buy one, and late with a rebound. Hurley ahead. Grant Hill had to go off his foot. Clemson ball.
So much for taking a little bit of air out of the ball. I guess Cliff Ellis realizes his guys are chomping at the bit to get started, so why hold them back? Let them show what they can.
Well, you said to me a couple hours ago, for Clemson to win, they just got to open the floodgates and have fun and play. There's a steal by Hill, and Thomas Hill will score the first basket of the night.
And play they must, because if they don't, they'll get taken out of this thing very early.
Clemson 9-5 coming in, 1-4 in the conference. Duke, of course, unbeaten at 14-0, 6-0 in the Atlantic Coast Conference.
And Brad, you hear the crowd, they're into it. You'd think that they were in on the scouting report. They got an inexperienced team right here playing. They're adding to the confusion.
Not a good shot by Harris, but he got himself in midair, and it's the only shot he had. And on the other end, a foul on Burks as Davis will to the hoop.
Clemson foul on number 4, Eric Burks, his first, team's first.
Clemson's going to put up quick shots. They certainly need to get some people back defensively. They can't send everybody to the offensive boards because it'll be lightning on the other end.
There's Brian Davis, one of 2 senior co-captains. An 82% free throw shooter. So that just in time for him to miss his opening shot of the game. Them both. The rebound comes off to right.
Maybe a slight sign, but nevertheless a sign, maybe a little lack of concentration and focus.
And Clemson ties things up as Chris Whitney hits outside. Whitney, who had 23 against Maryland over the weekend, including 7 3-pointers, buries the 2-point shot. Thomas Hill for 3. Air ball grabbed by Whitney.
That time Clemson played a zone, which throughout the season at various times has slowed Duke down just a bit.
Brian Davis all over Steve Harris.
Talk about playing loose and fancy-free with that basketball. Clemson just lobbing it up there.
You don't lob and cross-court pass very often against Duke and get away with it. Shot clock at 10. Way outside. Whitney short on the 3. Loose ball. Grant Hill will pick it up. Early back to Davis. Nice passing to work it to the left side for Thomas Hill to bury his second shot of the game. Thomas Hill 4, Clemson 2.
I'll tell you, that last possession, as we see Duke in some full court zone pressure.
Steal, Grant Hill.
mixing it up. Normally a man-to-man pressure team. They're applying the zone. Clemson not ready.
Burks takes it all the way, leaves it off for Wright. He short-armed one. Picked up underneath and off the glass is Steve Harris.
Steve Harris has done a nice job. He's a versatile player, plays 3 positions out there for Cliff Ellis. I was going to mention the possession in this part of the court, the Clemson front court prior to the score. They took a lot of time off the clock, but that wasn't intentional. That was Duke's defense.
Hill can't get the jumper outside. Rebound to Harris. Ahead to Whitney. Feeds in low. Hines tried to leave it for Wright. Stolen away by Davis. Another Clemson turnover. Hurley just inside the three-point line. 8-4 Duke. And now Clemson will regroup.
It's actually a pretty good call by Whitney right there, getting this guy set. But
trying to lob it to Wright. 4th turnover against Clemson. Thomas Hill on the other end. And he's fouled. Count it for Hill.
Fouls on number 21, Chris Whitney, his first, second team.
And a foul on Whitney.
Number 31.
well, you kind of get the impression that Duke is really looking to execute. You know, I don't see a whole lot of emotion in their game right now. They're just going at it in workmanlike fashion, doing everything they necessarily have to do to get it done. Sign of a great team thus far.
Thomas Hill off to the kind of start that made him ACC Player of the Week last week. Had a tremendous series of 3 games, and he's already got 7 points in this one. And 7 is the lead for Duke. 11-4, 15:28 to go, first half. Duke, 15:28 to go, first half.
Well, Duke certainly hasn't had to generate an awful lot of offense in their end because Clemson is playing right into their hand. Few ill-advised passes, bad passing angles, and that's been the bulk of the Duke offense thus far.
That helps Duke go 5 of 7 from the field. Shots like the one you just saw Hill, and there's the points off turnovers. 4 Clemson turnovers that Duke turned into 9 points. 71% for Duke from the field, 25% for Clemson. Hines way out on top. And I don't think you want the big fella handling the ball. That's why.
He began tentatively, and you got to ask Chris Whitney why he wasn't stepping up a little more assertively to get the ball.
Hurley gets it down. Davis thought about it. Laettner, I think that's the first time he's touched the ball. Hurley for 3. First 3 of the night, the 22nd of the year for Bobby Hurley, and it's a 10-point Duke lead. Here's Wright, the freshman, too hard. Rebound off to Grant Hill, and Duke runs 4 on 2. Davis fouled by Harris.
I'll tell you what I like about Duke right now is playing defense. They're anticipating the turnover, and then they get out in their lanes so well. It's automatic. The ball handler, the person who makes the steal or receive, all they have to do is look up the floor, and they know people are running those lanes.
Brian Davis back to the free throw line. Davis makes it 15-4 Duke. There you see his free throw percentage coming in. One of the top marks in the ACC, and he varies both. If you ever dream of putting together the all-time ACC Dream Team, stay tuned at halftime, and True Value will tell you how. 12-point Duke lead. Clemson's just about got to get some points this trip, then.
Have to find a way to get the ball up.
Davis.
You know, what this kind of defense is doing is cutting off all the passing lanes. It's going to make all passers tentative, and it's going to force Clemson to go one-on-one. And, of course, that's playing into the Duke Blue Devil hand as well.
Andre Beauvain, who just checked in. Here's Wright against Leitner, freshman over senior. And Wright's got his first basket of the night.
You certainly like to see more of that kind of matchup.
Davis, he'll take it inside the line. Brian Davis with 6. And the Duke lead again, 14. Nice crossover dribble by Whitney. Kicks it back out. Beauvain buries a 3. That helps the cause for Clemson.
Well, I have to say, excuse me, but Clemson, there's no back down. They've thrown a few away, but they've come back to kick the ball around and find the open man, and now playing pretty tough D.
And Hill almost had it knocked away. Cross courts it to Hurley. Davis again. Brian Davis finally stroked.
I tell you, that is an awesome perimeter game. People would think of Brian Davis as being the weak link offensively among that starting 5. But he's doing it tonight. Nice balance so far. Davis with 8. Hill, Thomas Hill that is, with 7. And Hurley with 5. Leitner has not had to touch the ball offensively because of what the other Blue Devils have done. Somehow I feel he's going to get his. Yeah, he will tonight. So Grant Hill will sit out. Cherokee Parks checks in. This is a good early opportunity for Mike Krzyzewski to get Cherokee Parks and Antonio Lang started, particularly defensively. That's where I'd like to see them work. That was another steal. Thomas Hill, second time tonight. This time he jams it home. We talked about those lazy cross-court passes against Duke. You don't get away with it, and Duke's proven that effective a couple of times tonight. They lead 24-9. And are they ringing up the curtain for showtime already on that dunk? They might be. Hurley almost with a steal there. And let's see, is he fouled by Whitney? Yes.
Foul is on number 21, Chris Whitney, his second.
Second foul on Chris Whitney.
14 foul, number 13, Steve Harris.
Well, right here again, that's the same pass. They've had it stolen this for the 3rd time. And watch Thomas Hill give it a little bit of flair.
Thomas Hill second on the team in dunks to Grant Hill, who had 31 coming into this game. Right now Duke is at 83% thanks to those in-close shots. They're 10 out of 12 from the field. You know, without the turnovers, Clemson's zone has had to make Duke work offensively. Hurley, three-pointer. Duke by 18. And a double dribble on Whitney, thanks to great defense by Hurley. 9th turnover against Clemson, and they trail this 27-9. We'll be back after this from our friends at Budweiser. Well, I guess that young man's already bored. It's 27-9. Duke.
I'll tell you, the Duke pressure has made the Clemson players think an awful lot. And when you have to start thinking more than you're actually playing, when you start thinking rather than reacting instinctively, you're in big trouble.
Turnovers like that, Len, have helped Duke score 8 times off 9 Clemson turnovers. So almost every time they've forced the Tigers to turn it over, they've produced Blue Devil points on the other end. Right now, Antonio Lang in there with Bobby Hurley, Christian Leitner, Cherokee Parks, and Thomas Hill. Steve Harris, Hines, along with Burks, Whitney, and a rebound comes off to Hines. Corey Wallace, the other Clemson player on the floor, and he's got his hands on it underneath.
Basket by Corey Wallace.
It's good play by Clemson, recognizing they had a break opportunity. They've come few and far between for them, but they continue to look up the floor and run the floor.
Here's Leitner, scoreless and fouled. Kevin Hines got him on the baseline.
Number 42.
Clemson can't leave Kevin Hines in there alone against Christian Laettner. They've certainly got to give him some help. And right here, Corey Wallace had an opportunity to do it, but he was kind of twixt and in between. He didn't know what he wanted to do, and by that time, Christian Laettner had already committed and drew the foul.
How would you like to have a 16-point lead and your leading player hadn't scored until right now, 9 minutes into the game? Grant Hill and Thomas Hill can smile about it already on the Duke bench. Laettner shooting almost 83% from the line. And Christian Laettner with his first 2 points of the game. It's again an 18-point Duke Blue Devil lead. We've got 11:05 left first half. Lang all over Burks outside. Swarming Blue Devil man-to-man defense. Harris leaves it over. Wide open is Wallace, but he missed it. And a push underneath. It's going to go on Hines. That's his second in a row.
And you see the hesitation right there. Wallace had a wide open jump shot, still didn't want to pull the trigger. Once again, thinking about it. At the beginning of the telecast, we talked about the Clemson young players going with reckless abandon. They just don't seem to be doing it right now.
They did it for about the first minute and a half. That was it. Davis and Laettner outside. Yeah. Hurley, three-pointer. And last touch by Clemson.
See, another sign, again, of being disheartened is every time there's a call, you see one or two players, Clemson players, look at their bench. Hey, man, you got to play basketball. Let it go.
29-11, Duke. Davis alone, left baseline, feeds into Parks. Off the glass. It rattles out. Lane got the rebound and stuck it back in.
And for Mike Krzyzewski, I know that he's definitely heartened to see Antonio Lang become more aggressive offensively. See a nice turnaround. Turkey Parks looking a little like Bill Walton. And Antonio Lang attacking the glass, getting involved offensively.
Parks, freshman, one of the most highly sought-after freshmen in the country. 6'11", 235. Here's Antonio Lang trying to cap a three-point play. Free throw comes out on him. And Wright with the rebound.
I was saying Parks looked a little like Bill Walton with that turnaround using the glass.
Wright in close, in and out. Lang blocked the attempt by Wallace. Marty Clark just checked in. You'd never know it. Make it a 23-point Duke lead. And again, Clemson without a decent shot. Davis and Grant Hill play catch on the other end.
At the top of the telecast, it's in the eyes, folks. It's in the eyes.
So far, the eyes have it, that's for sure. There's Burks, blocked by Parks. 3 straight times the Tigers have come down and the ball hasn't touched the rim. Hill, Davis, 3. The rebound to Wright. Here comes Clemson, their first chance to break. Steve Harris. Everything they do is a mock if you're not wearing white and blue. Davis guarded by Wallace. Here's Parks from 16. Too hard. Rebound, Harris again. Lob underneath for Wallace. Too low, and he stepped out of bounds.
Yeah, there's a mistake made. The pass was a little too far away, but that's the kind of basketball I thought Clemson should have started this game with, rather than playing a little close to the vest. I mean, you know, it can't sting any worse than this.
That's right. I think Corey Wallace just said something to that effect to Chris Whitney as he gave him 5 as he headed back down court, as if to say, hey, you know, nice try. Let's try it again later. 36-13, under 8 minutes to go first half. Brad Nessler and Len Elmore with you at Cameron Indoor Stadium, where it's been all Duke, as it's been against their previous 14 opponents. Thomas Hill in the paint. Rebound off to Whitney. Clemson trying a little transition here, but Duke is so tough getting back on defense. Good thing Whitney got that first shot of the ball game off. He hasn't been able to take a jumper since. Knocked out of bounds by Harris, and last touch by Grant Hill. And we've got a timeout with 7:15 to go first half. The Duke Blue Devils with a big lead on Clemson, 36-13. Seven minutes and 15 seconds remaining first half. The Duke Blue Devils trying to go to 15-0 and well on their way so far. 36-13 leaders over the Clemson Tigers.
Take a look at Duke. No let up defensively. 2 guys going to penetration. Cherokee Parks came into the conference as an excellent defensive player. And of course, any kind of defensive play like that for Duke starts the fast break, transition play. Man, break is up.
Wallace outside. Leitner had a hand on it, but it's picked up. Loose ball by Steve Harris. Steve Harris was 6 to lead Clemson in scoring. Christian Leitner without a field goal with under 7 minutes to play first half. Now that one thrown away by Davis. Clark wasn't looking. It'll be Harris again on the other end. Steve Harris, a 6'4" sophomore, former Mr. Basketball in the state of South Carolina. 8 points.
Clemson's now in a man-to-man as they were in the last time down, and Duke a little slow reacting.
Hill, tough shot on the baseline. Leitner had a hold of it, stripped away by Harris. Here comes Whitney. Tried to feed Wallace underneath. Devin Gray with the pass knocked away. And be sure to stay tuned at halftime for the Norwegian Cruise Line Trivia Contest. You could win a great cruise for 2.
I was going to add that you see Brian Davis getting back there to hustle to stop the layup. You know, his teammates have been misfiring a little bit. There's always one guy who's not going to let them sink, so to speak. And that's been Brian Davis in these last couple of times down. Ever hustling.
Clark working against Chris Whitney and fouled. And that's going to be 3 on Whitney. And that doesn't help Cliff Ellis' cause. He's going to have to go to his bench and take out his leading scorer. At least you would expect that to happen. So far it hasn't. Clemson with 18 fouls. And now Brooks does check in. And Chris Whitney will sit down.
Of course, with Whitney down, the starting point guard for Clemson, leading scorer, Bobby Hurley right back in.
Clark played on the South team for the 1991 U.S. Olympic Festival squad. Comes from a whole family of basketball players. 6 sisters play hoops. His dad's a coach. And Marty's got 5 points off the bench already with 6:06 to go first half.
That's probably where he developed that great perimeter shooting. Just couldn't stand it. Take it inside.
Didn't post his sisters up inside.
Probably didn't want to get a shot blocked by his sister.
And a nice shot with the left hand. Devin Gray, another freshman for Clemson with his first basket. 38-19, 5:45 to go first half. Duke has led from the opening tip.
Kevin Hines really battling Christian Laettner inside.
And Laettner walked with it.
Hines getting a little physical on the blocks. Take a look at this right here. Fighting the front. Good pressure on the ball. Nice little defensive sequence by Clemson that time. Particularly Hines, who's not backing down, and he's giving Christian Laettner a little challenge despite the score.
Right, with a nice backdoor pass to Eric Burks. 17-point Duke lead, cut down from 25. And a whistle and a foul inside. That's going to go on Devin Gray. Ninth team foul already on Clemson. Duke has one foul in the ball game. That's on Thomas Hill.
Thomas Hill will be shooting for the
Cliff Ellis looking on in this ACC battle, and in an in-state battle, Florida State over Florida. Boy, a good one. Florida State waiting for Duke later this week. Thomas Hill has 10. There's an SEC-ACC battle, and the SEC wins that one, 92-78. Volunteers, they're playing good basketball right now. Hill misses the second. Wallace will clear it off. And we're at the 5-minute mark. Remaining first half with Duke in front by 18 points. In the paint, and Gray lays it in.
And once the Tigers settle down, they're playing good basketball. You can notice they're not thinking any longer. They figure they're so far behind right now. The only way we're going to get back in is to play basketball.
And they strip it from Hurley, but Hill picks it up. Davis fouled as he goes to the hoop.
Tough position for them, Clemson, right now, being with 10 team fouls. Now I reached the foul, it's 2 shots. But you see pretty good hustle by both teams. I don't know. I mean, it's going to be hard now. You got 10 team fouls, as I mentioned. But when you make good defensive plays, you ought to get credit for it.
Clemson hasn't taken a free throw yet. Duke 8 for 12 right now. As Davis, unlike Davis, has missed 3 of his 5 attempts. But Duke has made more free throws than their opponents have attempted. You think about that for a while, and it'll tell you they go to the stripe often. They hit about 75% of the time when they do go to the line, and that makes a big difference in a lot of ball games.
Well, that's because they go to the basket often. You know, they've got a strong perimeter game, but they don't settle just for jump shots. You know, they'll put it on the floor and take it to the basket, and certainly they're pounding into their big guy.
They lead by 17. Burks running out of real estate and bumped out by Parks on the baseline.
Duke foul.
Only the second foul on Duke, though.
Cherokee Parks, his first second team foul.
They still have a batch of fouls to give before Clemson would be in a shooting situation. 40-23, 4:24 to go first half. Wallace in low, got it over Grant Hill.
I'll tell you, to Clemson's credit, you know, they could have folded this thing up and taken a vacation, but they're making Duke work.
Parks kicks it back to Grant Hill. Thomas Hill's jumper way too hard. Grant Hill out the weak side rebound, lost it in midair. Thomas Hill finger rolls it in, and he's got a dozen. Excuse me, Antonio Lang.
That's been the bane of the Clemson offense, that cross-court pass.
And that one just passed right into Hurley's hands, and watch Grant Hill, showtime.
That time, no Clemson players back. You got to believe they're just getting tired of getting back in transition.
Burks way out there. Picked up by Wallace. His one-hand hook won't go, and Grant Hill the rebound. Here comes Duke again. 4-on-2. Hurley, Hill. look-up touch pass in the basketball handbook. Harris. And a collision in the lane. And Harris will get the charge. That's his third foul. 2 minutes and 49 seconds remaining first half. Duke 46, Clemson 25. And here's what Duke does so well. We'll be back after this from our good friends at Budweiser. Part of a 32-7 season, and you get to the top, and on April 1st it was 72-65 over Kansas for that nice hunk of glass in the national championship. The announcers for this game are selected and compensated by Raycom and Jefferson Pilot Sports, and the use of this broadcast without their express permission is prohibited. With Len Elmore, I'm Brad Nessler. Nice to have you with us in Durham tonight, Cameron Indoor, where Duke has run it and run it up big. 14 fast break points and a 46-25 lead with just about 2.5 minutes to go first half.
Most of those fast break points have come off turnovers, a couple of rebounds.
Grant Hill shows a little more versatility, kind of lays that one off the glass. Duke is led by as many as 25. 36-11 was their 25-point lead. Bovain got it into Wright. Took it over Parks. Can't get it. Lang clears it ahead to Hurley. Here comes Duke. Almost too good a pass for Thomas Hill. Hurley looked one way, passed the other. Hill handles it. And now Duke will slow it down with just under 2 minutes to go in the first half. Hurley partially blocked. Parks picks it up, puts it in.
Well, that's not Bobby Hurley's game per se, taking people off the dribble, going one-on-one in the paint. But he's got a lot of help. Bail him out.
When you're up by 23, you can try a few things.
Yep.
Someplace someone's open. Gray will take it way outside and up and over. It'll be Duke ball. 1:23 to go in the half. How about with 1:23 to go? And your starting senior co-captain hasn't scored a field goal, and still you lead by 25 points. A dozen miscues, and Duke has turned it into 21 points.
And that's pretty much the story of this basketball game. Clemson making Duke work most times down on their offensive end. Duke certainly in the half court set been executing well, but not overly dominating. But it's been the turnovers and the resulting fast breaks, or catching Clemson in a broken floor and being able to swing the ball and hit the open man for the jump shot. That's what's done it.
You think Duke is not a deep club? That kid that just came out to wipe up the wet spot on the floor was jamming the ball before the game, the ball boy. And the student body was loving it. Leitner in and out from three. Rebound comes off. Bovain ahead. Mishandled. Wallace too hard, and Christian Leitner the rebound. Parks back to Leitner. Nice give and go. Leitner wave it off. Charging foul.
You know, many times when your big guy is having an off night for great teams, it's usually in the blowout situation.
That's Randy Denton's son, they tell us. He used to play here. I don't know how old he is, but he was lighting it up. 16. Steve Craddock, our producer, tells us.
And Randy Denton, a rough, tough customer with Duke, excellent rebounder, but I don't remember him dunking like his son.
Bovain with a nice weak side cut. It's 50-27, and Duke can play it for one.
These young kids today, man,
boy,
got spring.
And 10 on the clock as Hurley works. A crazy shot that goes in.
I told you that wasn't his game.
Yep. Hey, when it's working, it's working.
But if it's not his game, if he continues to work on it, come March, it will be, right?
This is exactly what Bobby Hurley had planned for the final shot with 5 seconds left in the half, was whatever that was off the glass that went in, and a chance now for a three-point play.
And you know he just wants to smile, but that's not his game either.
And Duke with its biggest lead, and Clemson might have one more shot, or will Duke have one more shot? Hurley at the buzzer. And they're going to call goaltending on that final attempt by Leitner. Halftime. And Duke with a 55-27 lead. Let's take a look at that last play, Lenny.
Well, Christian Leitner may have... No, that was goaltending.
That's a good call.
No, you know, I tell you, I'm wondering if that would have made it to the rim.
We'll never know. Intermission at Cameron Indoor Stadium. And the #1 team in the country is showing us why. Blue Devils 55, Tigers 27. Brad Nessler and Len Elmore at Cameron Indoor Stadium, where #1 Duke is taking on Clemson, and the Tigers came in here tonight hoping for an upset, Len, and they just haven't been able to muster anything. Duke has just been too strong on defense, and it's turned into some easy baskets on the offensive end for them.
Well, one of the things that Clemson just has to be scratching their heads about is that Duke didn't come out here emotional. They came out here in workmanlike fashion, and they stepped into the passing lanes and really disrupted a Clemson strategic plan. Then, after they've gotten resettled, Clemson Tigers started to play some pretty good basketball. You know, I think that Cliff Ellis was trying to tell them in the locker room that, hey, continue to work on your game, test yourselves against the best in the country, and who knows what's going to happen further down the line.
Well, they've had to work it so hard just to try to get a shot off, as we're going to take a look right now at our Pepsi game summary. The name of Duke's game is defense, and it's not always about turnovers, but sometimes about just forcing your opponent to do this.
Well, certainly harassing, in-your-face type of defense, smothering you, not allowing you to get off jump shots, switching, not allowing an awful lot of penetration. And after all is said and done, what happens is that you wind up thinking about what you're supposed to do, as we see Chris Whitney trying to get his guys reset.
Whitney right now with 3 fouls and had to spend a good portion of the first half on the bench. And finally, they do get the open shot, and then boom, that's what happened.
Well, he hesitates. I tell you, there is some light at the end of the tunnel for Clemson in this game, and a lot of it has to do with getting it inside to their big people here on a backdoor cut. Nice move inside on an excellent pass.
So Clemson's going to have to do more of that, and a lot of it, to try to get back in this basketball game. At intermission, the #1 team in the country trying to roll their way to 15-0, and they're certainly on their way with a 55-27 lead.
Hey, baby, if you want to run with Dickie V, you got to have it. If you want to be a PTPer, you got to have it. You got to have Pepsi, and you got to go to Kmart. First, I got to explain the X's and O's. Everybody wins here. This is an M&M'er. It's called the Kmart Pepsi Quart of Values. It's giving ACC fans super values on Pepsi and Kmart products, plus a chance to win great ACC prizes. It's Cupcake City for Pepsi fans. So get a TO, baby, and run to Kmart today. Kmart and Pepsi, they speak my language.
Raycom and Jefferson Pilot Sports exclusive coverage of ACC basketball is brought to you by Buick, Gillette, Central Fidelity, and by Nationwide Insurance.
We are set for the second half at Cameron Indoor Stadium. Duke leads 55-27. Brad Nessler and Len Elmore with you. Duke has trailed only 17 minutes and 15 seconds all season long. They have never trailed in this ball game. Lob underneath. Duke starts it off by throwing it away. Let's take a look at our US Air halftime statistics. And that 39 won't cut it from the field if you're trying to beat Duke.
Neither will the 13 turnovers. And look at the points off turnovers. That's pretty much been the story of this game. It's contributed to that high field goal percentage.
There's another turnover, and Brian Davis trying to turn it into more points. Misses, and Hurley picks up the rebound. And we got a foul. It's going going to be on Whitney, and boy, is he in a whole bunch of foul trouble now. That's his first of the half, his fourth of the game. Back-to-back fouls by Clemson, and Duke will have it on the baseline. Hill in close. Grant Hill has 10.
Chris Whitney has had an awful lot of the weight on his shoulders. Came into this half with 6 turnovers. He's picked up his 4th foul. This is a heck of a debut for him against the #1 team. But this is his first year in conference play. He's got to learn some way.
Burks trying to hook pass out, and Hurley steals it away, and he in turn throws it away on the other end. Don't forget to stay tuned for the Nations Bank Players of the Game Award. Nations Bank will contribute $1,000 to the Atlantic Coast Conference to be distributed among the member institutions under a conference-approved plan. That's the Nations Bank Players of the Game to be awarded near the end of our broadcast.
Whitney with 4 personals. In a normal game situation, Cliff Ellis would have had to take him out.
Call a foul on Thomas Hill.
Now it's just another learning experience, as you mentioned.
First team foul of the second half.
And to the free throw line will go Steve Harris. Mike Krzyzewski looks on. This one well in hand with 18:32 to go.
But you saw the look of intensity on his face. Don't you for 1 minute think he's not working.
He never changes, does he?
He's working down there.
He can be 3 behind or 30 ahead, and he has that same look on his face. Steve Harris with 9 points to go with his 3 rebounds tonight. He's done a nice job. 6'4" sophomore out of Simpsonville, South Carolina. First 2 points of the second half come from the free throw line for Clemson. The first 2 free throws that they have attempted all night. Leitner, a handful of Jersey did right, and Leitner still got it in there.
Tell you, that nice little cross underneath where Hill broke open on the wing got him free to hit Leitner on the lob, and you can't hit a lob if there's pressure on the ball. No pressure.
Harris trying to send it back on top, stolen by Thomas Hill. He goes 1-on-2 and buries it.
That was a tough shot to pull up after going full speed, stop on a dime and pull up and then kiss it off the glass. It's a heck of a lot tougher than it looked.
14 for Thomas Hill. 10 for Grant Hill. And Grant Hill is going to pick up a foul in the lane. Harris on the drive.
Mentioned before, Steve Harris has had some experience playing the point guard. He played a lot of it last year. As a matter of fact, he started the last 2 games of the season. He figured to get a lot of time at the point, but I think Chris Whitney panned out a lot better than Cliff Ellis expected.
Cliff Ellis with the new look of wearing glasses this year, not liking what he's seeing through those glasses tonight too much.
So why he keeps rubbing them like he's cleaning them?
I don't think he can rub off the lead that Duke has right now, 61-29. Leitner, another Clemson turnover. Here comes Duke. Hurley pulls up, 3-pointer, got it. His 3rd of the night.
Well, this is like a shooting drill now when you come down in transition and nobody picks you up.
These are the kind of games that really test our math skills. It's a 35-point Duke lead.
I'm the man of letters. I'm the man of numbers.
Well, I'm not doing so well with the numbers. When you see 64-29, you don't see it that often. 17-14 left in the ballgame. Clemson just having a hard time getting any kind of shot off. Another steal. This one is Davis got it from going out of bounds. Hill leaves it for Hill. Oh! 66-29. Tremendous control all the way down the court from the defensive end to the basket as Grant Hill just tipped it to Thomas Hill, who switched hands and put it in.
I tell you, you have to give a great deal of credit to the Duke defenders stepping out, gambling, stepping into the passing lane. But I'll tell you, the Clemson guys aren't meeting the ball. They're standing and hesitating when it comes to hitting the open man. You can just watch. They're thinking about what they're doing rather than just doing it.
The last 3+ minutes, 11-2, and finally that snapped a little bit by Wright, who's got his second field goal.
Hopefully that for Clemson will break the spell and they can go on and play some productive basketball for the remainder of the game, at least for a period.
Wright trying to stay with Leitner and fouls him. Sharon Wright with his third personal.
See, this is a battle that we looked forward to. Sharon Wright reaching in, and it's kind of tough for big guys. Some people get away with it, some don't. And in a case like that, before I would start, particularly as a freshman, and reaching in, I'd learn how to play secure post defense.
Ryan Davis, two-pointer. He's got 11. Duke's got all their starters except Leitner in double figures.
You know, a guy like Sharon Wright, you develop good fundamental habits inside before you start getting cute.
Steal by Leitner.
See, Chris Whitney's just forcing it in right now.
Davis outside. Lang picks it up on the weak side, buries it home, and he's fouled. Everybody's in the act.
When you look at that front line, you got Cherokee Parks at 6'10", Christian Leitner at 6'11", and Antonio Lang at 6'8". That's a little too much for that front line of Clemson, and they just camp right in there.
Number 21, Chris Whitney, and number 31, Andre Levin. Shooting Antonio Lang, one shot.
Trying to cap a three-point play and does. 15:43 remaining in the ball game. It is a 40-point Duke lead. We'll be back after this from our good friends at Bud Light.
Well, you talk about playing defense. Once again, the gambling, hustling pressure of Duke. And at halftime, Calvin Hill, father of Grant Hill, talked about the unselfishness of this team. Well, right there, you saw, at least on the part of Calvin Hill, the unselfishness there.
That's about as fine a works you're going to see. Davis saves it. Right. Davis to Hurley, to Grant Hill, to Thomas Hill for two, and a 40-point Duke lead. And Clemson has 2 more turnovers this half than they have points. 6 turnovers, 4 points.
I had to mean Grant Hill because Calvin told us he stopped playing about 10, 11 years ago against his son.
Of course, his son's never been able to tackle his dad either. The glass, Steve Harris. He's been most of the Clemson offense. There hasn't been a lot of it. He's got a dozen. Leitner working inside. They're trying to get it to him. He's got quite a battle going with Wallace right now. Here's Leitner in the paint over a double team. And now Leitner with 8.
It was over a double team, but he still had a decided height advantage. Sharon Wright got over this a little bit too late. I'm sorry, that was number 40. Corey Wallace got over it too late.
40-point lead. Here's Wallace trying to go to the offense himself, and Parks clears it off for Duke. Leitner pulls up. Three-pointer.
Well, with his range and mobility, you just knew he was going to get his. It was just a question of from where.
11 for Leitner, and all the Duke starters in double figures. Steal. And turned right back over. Christian Leitner with that last basket just became the 7th Duke player to score 2,000 in a career. And we congratulate him. He's been a fine player. Came in with 1,989 points. And 2,000 now. He'll go over the 1,000 rebound mark before his career is over too, and then you're in some pretty serious company when you've got 2,000 points and 1,000 rebounds. Wallace, nice pass, and shot missed by Devin Gray, but he's fouled. Parks will pick up the foul.
Pretty good execution by Clemson against what appeared to be a 2-3 zone, but certainly a matchup. Nice little backdoor pass. And that was play that was done obviously without thinking about it, just by reacting when the defensive player came running at Devin Gray. Devin Gray decided to go backdoor. And Hines just looked at him, bounced it into him. You do that without thinking.
Gray is 6'6", freshman. Gets both free throws. He's got 6 for the game. It's 76-35. Laying into Parks. Parks off the glass, and he's fouled. I'm going to call this one on Bruce Martin. Here's the ACC teams and how they look in the Associated Press top 25. Duke, obviously, 11 straight weeks of being on top. Longest in school history, by the way, 11 straight weeks. North Carolina moved up a notch. Georgia Tech a couple of spots. Florida State into the top 25. 6'11" freshman out of Huntington Beach, California. Cherokee Parks. As you might expect, his teammates call him Chief, his nickname, and hits his first free throw. He's had 8 points in 3 straight games, 3 points so far tonight off the bench.
And this is certainly a year for him to really cherish, because he gets an opportunity every day in practice to work against a Christian Laettner. That's going to make him that much better. He may not get that opportunity as time goes on to play against such a great player day in, day out.
And remember, Laettner did that against Danny Ferry. Bruce Martin hits the 3 after just checking in. First got a foul and then buried a 3. It's a 40-point Duke lead. Meek back out. Clark off the glass. He's got 7.
Once again, opportunity to see, to see the Duke method. This unit out here could have taken quick shots, but they're working offensively and defensively, working on particular things.
Steve Harris has 14. The lead, though, is 40 for Duke. Clark outside, air ball, too strong. And on the other end with some authority is Devin Gray.
So Devin Gray's a nice player, nice young player. Baltimore native. He was a Catholic High School Player of the Year last year. You know, Cliff Ellis, he may have some young guys, but by no means is the cupboard bare.
Antonio Lang kicks it out. Clark, baseline. And Meek with a rebound underneath, and he goes back up strong. Eric Meek. Duke out there with Meek and Parks, 2 highly touted freshmen from California. Marty Clark, Antonio Lang, and Grant Hill. So the exception of Grant Hill, Duke doesn't have a starter on the floor. Sharon Wright missed in close. Should have had that one. Hill now will play the point with Bobby Hurley on the bench, probably for the rest of the night. Parks wheels on the baseline.
That was about as agile a move as I've seen Cherokee Parks execute. Low dribble, spins along the baseline with a nice drop step.
Duke by 42.
I guess this is the time to experiment.
You can do just about anything you want to try right now, I think. If you want to try doing play-by-play, Len, go ahead.
Okay.
Right. They're asking in the truck if I'm on my way out of here. 84-44 with 10:44 to play.
If that were the case, and I just do it the experimental way, let it go with natural sound.
The squeak of the shoes and the bounce of the ball, and it'll be Clemson ball. 10 minutes, 31 seconds remaining in the ball game. The Duke Blue Devils, #1 in the country, have a 40-point lead over Clemson. Back where #1 Duke has an 84-44 lead. We want to correct the graphic we showed you a couple of minutes ago. ACC teams in the top 25. We had the last week and this week reversed. Here's how it looks. Duke #1 as they have been. Carolina dropped a spot to 11th. Georgia Tech, after losing to Florida State and beating Louisville, dropped a couple of notches. And Florida State with that win over Georgia Tech and their impressive play into the top 25 in the number 23 position. We just wanted to clarify that for you. And they just have made the announcement of the 2,000-point plateau for Christian Laettner. We told you about it about 5 minutes ago, but the student body just figured it out. And they'll have fun with that the rest of the night. And Christian can smile on the bench. His team up 84-44. Steve Harris has done a nice job tonight for Clemson. Trying to feed it in the paint, stolen away by Meek.
Clemson all night has just picked out the toughest passing angles and trying to feed the post or hit the outlet man. I guess when they watch the films tomorrow, they're going to recognize just how easy an adjustment it is to make.
Taken back by the Tigers. Loose. Wallace goes back up with it and got it.
That was an example of if you hang around long enough, you're going to get some opportunities. Don't concede anything. .9:15 left. Lob underneath to Lang. He lost the handle. Finger roll by Kevin Hines. It's his first basket. Well, there have been signs along the Clemson front line of guys having some talent. It's just it's hard to see when you're in against that first unit of Duke.
Even when you get down to Duke's second unit or deeper, you're still playing against a bunch of All-Americans, seems like. Now they're going to call a foul on Antonio Lang inside. That'll be his first foul. Here's that number again to vote for the True Value ACC Dream Team, folks. 1-900-884-6-ACC. 1-900-884-6222. Get your vote in. Got to get that point guard situation figured out. I don't think we got Elmore in there at center, I know. And
well, come on, man. Did you expect it?
Well, I voted for you. I don't know.
Give me the bill and I'll pay you later.
Here's Hines. Parks may have gotten a piece of it. Meek pulls it off to midair. Blakeney ahead to Clark. Nice drive. Marty Clark.
I'll tell you, that's just sheer confidence. When Duke kicks the ball up and those guys are running those lanes, they expect to get the ball.
86-48. Rebound underneath. Hines has it again off the glass.
Basket by Kevin Hines.
Kevin Hines is an excellent rebound per minute guy. He gets a rebound every 3 minutes, and frankly, he's along the same lines as Sharon Wright, who's the leading rebounder of the team. So he's shown a lot.
Got a couple of substitutions coming in for Clemson, but they're going to have to wait. 7:29 to play. We got a timeout. 86-50. Duke in front. We'll be back after this from our friends at Bud Light. Some of the future of the Duke Blue Devils out on the floor right now.
Well, I know it's hard for us to kind of get too far ahead of ourselves, but while we're sitting here thinking about it, you take a look right there. There will be life after Christian Laettner, no doubt about it. And Cherokee Parks will be the focal point. You got guys like Marty Clark who fill the lanes very well, excellent three-point shooter. Antonio Lang, who's done a heck of a job tonight as well.
Lang trying to get a pass to Parks, skipped off his hand. And you see what Duke's done on the fast break tonight. 7:22 to play. Brad Hessler and Len Elmore with you at Cameron Indoor Stadium in Durham, where Duke has led from the outset. And this one, Gray off the glass. And as Len said, he's looked good. 8 points. Make it 10 points now for Gray.
And really, at this point in this game, this is what Devin Gray is trying to do, establish himself in the eyes of the coach, if no one else.
Well, he just stripped the ball from Meek, and now he's got a dozen. He had 26 against Oral Roberts. That's his season high. 86-54, and another steal by Clemson. Amistoy on the drive, and he lays it in.
And that even brought the Clemson bench alive a little bit. The guys are out there cheering for their teammates on the floor.
Mike Krzyzewski only ahead by 30 now. He looked just like he did earlier in the game, and it looked like he did when he was up 40. These guys never change expression. Seems like the good ones just sit there and get the job done. Ryan Amistoy, a freshman out of Snellville, Georgia, completes a three-point play. As silly as it sounds, 86-57 is about as close as Clemson's been in the last 10 minutes.
You know, I just get the feeling Mike Krzyzewski is not showing any emotion because he wants this game over with. So now they can now focus on Florida State.
Florida State Thursday night, and that'll be a big battle in Tallahassee.
But he's not going to let up for even these guys, which is very fair to the guys that come off his bench.
Antonio Lang, he's had a big night.
That he gives them the same intensity, the same concentration as he does his starters.
First, 6th team foul.
As I mentioned, Antonio Lang showing that he's got a lot of the potential to be a big-time basketball player. He seemed to slow down just a bit in his progress, but you look out here and he has the talent. He's got the skill.
And Antonio becomes the 6th Duke player in double figures. That gives him 10 on the night. Chris Whitney, who had early foul trouble, back in there. And Steve Harris will get a breather. Stay tuned for the Players of the Game Award, brought to you by Nations Bank. It's going to be tough to choose tonight. We'll have a lot of decisions on Duke, and there's a couple young men for Clemson who played very well. Wright in paint. Can't get the jumper. Battle for the rebound. Clark and Parks both had their hands on it. It ends up in Clemson's hands, and then a collision between Wright and Meek. And that's going to do it for Sharon Wright. He's gone. Well, that's a tough call. He was just trying to catch the ball and just about went head-to-head with Meek. And Wright will leave with 6 points.
You're right. It was certainly a tough call, but, you know, on a night like this, that's probably the last thing Sharon Wright's going to be thinking about.
He leaves with 6 points. Had some great games against ACC competition, though. 17 against North Carolina State, 15 against Wake Forest, 16 against Virginia, had 11 in a loss to Maryland on Saturday. Tonight, though, tough foe and 6 points, and he fouls out with 5:55 to go. 89-57. Parks takes the open jumper. If Parks and Marty Clark can each score again, Duke will have just about everybody in double figures. Oh, what a follow by Devin Gray. How about Gray? The high wire act. 91-59. Parks alone underneath. Fouled as he went up as Hines got him.
Well, inside you got for Duke 6'10" Eric Meek and 6'11" Cherokee Parks against 6'6" Devin Gray and 6'7" Kevin Hines. They pretty much have their way. Hines and Gray would do better maybe to work on their perimeter game, flash in and out of the post, but they're getting a good workout against these guys.
4th straight game with 8 points for Parks.
Talk about getting a good workout. Devin Gray likes to put on a show, a little bit of a gift. That ball looked like it was in the cylinder, but at this point, he's counting. We're about to lose count.
And Eric Meek puts back the miss by Parks. 93-59. Gray off the glass. Clark in his path.
Well, you knew something was going to happen. Devin Gray gets his hands on the ball and puts his head down.
Then you get out of the way.
And right here, again, head down. He's gone.
Devin Gray at the line for the Tigers, 1 shot.
So the left-hander will go back to the free throw line. And in and out on the free throw. 93-61 with just under 5 minutes to play in the ball game. Parks. Nice move, but he's fouled.
Something tells me that he's been working on that since October 15th. Because he gets a great deal of congratulatory responses from his teammate. Nice little pump fake and crossover.
Obviously, Clemson, they've been on the road, and this is the toughest place in maybe the country to play on the road. And they're not too happy on the bench. Cherokee Parks, another double-figure Devil tonight. Lang's got 10. Parks has 11. Leitner sitting down in double figures. So was Grant Hill, Thomas Hill, Brian Davis, and Bobby Hurley. And the foul will go on Parks, his third. Here's a scoring breakdown again. Thomas Hill 16, Bobby Hurley 14, Brian Davis and Christian Leitner 11 apiece, Grant Hill 10, Antonio Lang 10, and Cherokee Parks 11. That's 7 players in double figures, and Clark is out on the floor, and if he can get another basket, he'll be in there too.
But the one thing about it, despite the scoring and 7 guys in double figures and 10 guys playing, everybody's been involved in the basketball game in one way or another.
96-61. Amstor outside, short. Kenny Blakely the rebound ahead to Antonio Lang. Wallace lost the handle momentarily. Gray puts his head down again.
And you notice nobody stepped in his way that time.
18 for Devin Gray, 6'6" freshman. And a timeout with 3:47 to play. It's Duke 98, Clemson 63. We'll be right back.
Get the recap of tonight's game on the way home.
ACC basketball is brought to you in part by your Southeast Toyota dealers. 3:47 to play with a 98-63 lead. The Duke Blue Devils trying to go to the century mark here, and the fans will really get crazy if Meek can hit in close. He's fouled. Wallace picks up the personal.
It's kind of systematic here. It looks as though Duke is trying to get everybody involved by going at them specifically down the last couple of minutes. It was Cherokee Parks a while ago, before and a little bit after him, Antonio Lang. Now it's Eric Meek.
Meek wasn't too meek about the way he put that free throw attempt up there. 4 points on the night for the 6'10" freshman. One of the most highly recruited players from the San Diego area since Bill Walton, whose name's come up a couple times tonight. Missed the second free throw as well. Rebound off to Wallace, ahead to Whitney, and now it's Gray on the other end. Boy, what a half Devin Gray has had. He's got 20 points on the night, 16 of them this half.
You know, Devin Gray just came to play some basketball. This is like going back out in the park, saying I'm going to prove myself for the next game.
Here is Parks. Baseline. It's 100-65. 5th time over 100 this season for Duke. And Amistoy scoops one in. He's got 5 this half. Under 3 minutes to go. Cliff Ellis told me before the game, the only game that got away from us was North Carolina. That was 103-69. Right now it's 100-67. Much the same type of game. Parks follows with a slam. He's got 14. 102-67. And for Duke, this is about to be their biggest win since earlier in the season against Harvard. They won that one 118-65.
And I believe Cliff Ellis has found himself that starter as small forward.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to keep Devin Gray on the bench, that's for sure.
Number 21, Chris Whitney for the Tigers.
Cliff's got some young guys that he knows are going to improve by leaps and bounds. He told me Sharon Wright he thinks is ahead of Forrest Grant, Eldon Campbell, and Dale Davis all at that stage when they're freshmen. And he's happy about the way he's playing. And this kid, Devin Gray, 20 points on the night, missed the free throw.
Just a further comment on Sharon Wright. You know, he came in as a high school All-American. Those guys that you mentioned, all great players, didn't come in as such, so he feels, as you mentioned, they're further along. Plus, he's got that outside shot that he hasn't been able to show.
That's right. Clemson's upcoming games at Western Carolina, then they're home in their annual rivalry against South Carolina, and it's Georgia Tech at Florida State and at Wake Forest. Hard to find an easy one in that batch either for the Tigers, who are trailing 102-69. Unable to hit their free throws, which has been another of their problems all season long. Kenny Blakely all the way to the hole. Blakely's first basket.
That shooting touch of Sharon Wright's that I was talking about goes back to the McDonald's Classic last year when he won the three-point shooting contest.
And I think it even surprised him that he won the three-point shooting contest. Clark picks up another foul. That's his 4th.
So if you can mix Sharon Wright's game, get him inside, maybe set him up a little outside, work on his mobility, combine that with the development of a Devin Gray, and now you got some pretty good guards out front. Clemson's going to be all right in the next couple of years. You know, these are learning experiences. They won't forget this quickly.
Here's a guy who, along with Devin Gray's, had the best night for Clemson. Steve Harris, 6'4" sophomore, came in averaging just under 8 points a game and has 16 tonight.
Well, they shouldn't forget this kind of game very quickly.
Boy, hard to sleep tonight on this one. But it's happened to a lot of other people by lopsided scores this year. Clemson's not obviously the first team to lose to the Duke Blue Devils. Going to go to the free throw line, and if he hits this free throw, already the noise in here is deafening. Ron is one of 38 guys that took part in tryouts back in October to make this team as a walk-on. Two years in a row in the intramural championship team here at Duke, and he got both free throws.
Was a "he's one of us" cheer.
That's right. A minute and a half to play, and the ball knocked off the foot of Burt, and Clemson with a fresh 45 and almost trailing by 45. 106-71. Nice pass underneath. Amistoy was 7 off the bench. Great pass to Meek. Couldn't quite handle it going up. Burke got a line drive one-hander in there, and Meek just couldn't find the handle going to the hole. And Anthony Smith in at the point spot. Thought about taking a three. Rebound off to Burt. Here he comes on the run. 3-on-2. Clark can't get it. Parks followed it, but it's Clark that's fouled. Anthony Smith with the foul. And if the free throw, either of the free throws is hit by Clark, there'll be another Duke player in double figures. He has 9 on the night.
Burt showed me a little bit in pushing it up the floor.
Got some speed. There's another Duke player in doubles. 8 players for Duke in double figures. Clark hits both free throws. Under a minute, it's 108-73. Smith leaves it for Amistad down on the baseline, and he stepped on that baseline. Turnovers for Clemson on the night, stat that they would like to forget as well. Blakeney's still calling plays out there, man. It's 108-73.
Yeah, but you got the Duke players calling a play, trying to set it up for somebody. I don't think Blakeney's in the book. That's what they're trying to set up.
Tried to call his own number, did Kenny. Instead, it's Parks who hammers it home with 16 on the night. I think you're exactly right. That's what they were trying to do.
Well, his teammates were calling his number. They were on the bench calling it. You know, the co-captains Leitner and Davis jumped up and called number 4. And, you know, that's characteristic of the type of team they are.
Last trip down the floor for the #1 team in the country. Burt penetrates short. Parks picked it up off the glass. Cherokee Parks, 18 points on the night. And this one's all over. Big win for the Duke Blue Devils, 112-73. We'll be back with Mike Krzyzewski, the winning coach, and a word from him when we come back after these messages from the Atlantic Coast Conference. The Duke Blue Devils, the #1 team in the country, show why against the Clemson Tigers tonight. 112-73 is the final as we take a look at our Nations Bank players of the game tonight. Antonio Lang had 6 rebounds in the first half, 7 for the game, and 12 points off the bench, just one of many Duke players in double figures. And Devin Gray, also off the bench for Cliff Ellis, had a fine outing. 20 points, 16 of those came in the second half. 112-73 is the final.